Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon. Ooh, hoo, hoo. Ooh, la la la. What a fucking monster of a game. I have never, ever been happier than playing this game. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but, well, it's still a fucking good game. If any introductions are in order, my name's Shadow, and welcome back to Shadow Gaming. Now, again, this game has been sat in my Steam library for 400 billion years. No, that's an exaggeration. Maybe like 6 months. So I first picked up the game on Steam, about 6 months ago. I wanted to give it a go, but never ended up doing it. I've kind of seen a lot of traction now. A couple of YouTube suggestions, suggesting the content to me. So I really wanted to give it a review and give my honest opinion on kind of the state of the game for you guys, because I think it's important, especially when it comes to early access games, that we look at it from a very unbiased view, and we take in consideration the fact that it is in early access, but also the quality and the direction the game's going, and that's super important to me and you, obviously. Yeah, it's important to all of us. So, right out of the bat, graphical settings. Now, I was a bit disappointed with the selection you have. You don't have many, you can't tweak a lot. And that wouldn't normally bug me that much, but because of the performance in the game, I kind of struggled with the fact that you couldn't really tweak more advanced elements of the game. I played the game on 1440p, which is what I play all my games on. Now, I don't know if that actually had an impact on performance, but I wouldn't say so, bearing in mind that I'm on a Ryzen 7 508X and an RX 6800. So I wouldn't say that that's a specifically bad kind of requirement for the game. I think that's pretty up there. I mean, it instantly set me to high, and looking at the minimum specs of the game, I shouldn't have really run into as much technical difficulty as I did when it came to graphics. The game stutters, and I mean, it's bigger. It's just stutters more than I stutter, and I stutter an awful lot, and it kind of ruined a little bit of the immersion for me in the game. Now, I have seen other people have also had the issue. It's something that they need to work on when it comes to optimization. And yeah, it kind of just led a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth before I even started the game, especially considering it wasn't completely free. And it was a little bit choppy, and it just made the experience a little bit more harsh. Now, the graphics aren't bad, and actually, in some places, it looks really good. And I really thought that in certain places, especially like in the open sections of the game, it is really good, and it you can see they're putting the work in to try and upgrade it. Unfortunately, I think there is some points in the game, especially in some of the darker places, it doesn't look great, and you can kind of see that there's a lot of cracks in the foundation of their textures and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely passable, and it's great that they've really emphasized that they're gonna incorporate more fixes, and they're gonna increase the resolutions for things, and which is fantastic. And we also need to remember the fact that they aren't on a triple A budget; they're on a double A budget. They're an indie developer, and this is their first time making a game like this. So kudos for really trying. And if that is gonna bother you, it shouldn't, to be honest. The game has a lot more to offer than, just a few textures that don't look fantastic. Although, what really just stood out to me is that some of the models, character models, especially in the character creation, just like uncanny valley. And that honestly creeps me out a little bit because it just doesn't look right at all. I mean, it is a gaming character, obviously, and, they're not supposed to look realistic, like proper human beings, but you want them to look at least a little bit like human beings and not just like, Barbie dolls. But enough of all the tactical stuff. Let's move on to the actual gameplay. Ooh la la. I think they've done a good job at the sound design. Everything, even the sword hidden, like, I don't know, the wall or something, has a sound, and you can see they have put emphasis on walking sounds and swimming sounds, and combat sounds. It's definitely there, and I also quite like the ambience music. It's quite fitting in a lot of the places, actually. which does add a lot of immersion to the game, which is fantastic. You do have the freedom to kind of push your character in any direction you want. So you got magic and things like that, or you can go sword and board. There's things like great axes, mauls, shovels if you really feel a bit dirty, smacking those zombies out of the way and then punching them and fucking them with the spade. Glorious, absolutely glorious. Essentially, you put a camp down, and from there you can kind of level up using skill points, and you can also upgrade into attributes and things like that, which obviously go across the board, and they're kind of your core abilities. And it does remind me a lot of like a normal RPG kind of theme where you have these attributes, you can upgrade them, and then you also have skill points as well. So, you can build the character how you want to, and please do not anyone go Stealth Archer because that cringe from Skyrim does not work in this game. No, I'm totally joking. It does fucking work in this game, and it's an absolute blast. I feel like it's a good foundation for an RPG. They got all the basics right, and the way that the systems work together is really good so far. And obviously, we know they're going to be building more on that, but they've done a really good job getting it to this stage. Now, the combat is a little bit where I feel it's not lacking. I think it's a good system for what they've got. I just feel like it needs to be more refined. I think that, some of the animations are quite clunky. The way that you move the character and, the way that they hit enemies of different types, it just doesn't quite fit. And that's not something that really will necessarily change about the game. It's going to have its own style, but I feel like it just needs to be a little bit more refined. It feels a little bit stiff all the time, which is a bit weird, but yeah, some of the game footage that I've got in the background kind of emphasizes. I feel it just doesn't quite hit the mark, but it's not bad at all. It can be pretty fun and interesting. Unfortunately, I think one of the biggest downfalls for this particular game, and I felt like this was a really big game changer, taking all the other systems out and focusing on the story. Really felt, and I'm not exactly sure what exactly it is. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm a genius at writing or anything or voice acting, because fuck no, I'm probably shit at both, and I would never ever try it. So there's no kind of discrimination against these people that have done it. Now thinking about it, I don't actually think it's anything to do with the voice acting. I think it's honestly the dialogue. Some of it just seems very, very forced, and it just doesn't hit the situation the best way it possibly can. And it really does emphasize, especially in the beginning of the game, you can kind of tell that it's not quite there. But then on other occasions, the dialogue does hit really well. And I just feel like it's a little bit mixed. I think it's something they need to definitely look at. If you decide to get this game, I think you'll definitely notice it right off the bat. But then again, if you're the type of person just to skip through dialogue anyway, then well, you got the combat and you can explore and things like that. So there is different avenues of it. But yeah, it's something to be aware of before you purchase this. But honestly, the world's nice. It's got a very dark theme to it. It's plenty filled with content. There's bandits and stuff that you can kill. There's monsters, graveyards you can explore. They've done really well at hiding loot around the place, so you can kind of explore and get rewarded for actually exploring. So back to those kind of basic foundations of RPGs where the developers really wanted you to be explore every inch of that map. Now there isn't a lot of side quests in the game as it stands now, but from the ones I did play were really good. And I'm not just saying that because the amount of shit that we have in our industry at the moment, especially at AAA level, these were really good and I really enjoyed them. They all had a kind of unique spin. And that's something that you don't see very often, so it's definitely a sell point there, right there, exactly. Now I know this game is based on a board game, I'm pretty sure, so the lore has already been created. I've never ever heard of any of this stuff, like the lore or anything, but the story is interesting. And from what we can play so far in the early access, I definitely think it's going in a very good direction. They've really tried to nail the storytelling aspect of this game. And when you put everything together, it fits. It is fitting well. They the biggest thing is that just needs to be refined. Everything needs to be refined, but it's in early access, so we gotta give it a little bit of leniency. Let's hope that there's continuing to head in the right direction. When I was doing my research, no idea why I just went out and sung again. That's really bad. But the comparison, this game is compared to Elder Scrolls a lot. So Skyrim and Oblivion, I can see it. I can see it. And it's a very good thing because back then Bethesda were actually chucking out really good games, and it's a kudos to the fact that they are heading in that direction rather than the kind of bullshit we get from AAA titles nowadays. I think it's really important to also note the fact that there is a lot of positivity around this game, and that's fantastic because, what I would say overall, it is a positive experience, but I think some people are overlooking some of these little issues that I have found playing the game, and I just want you to be fully informed about what you're kind of getting yourself into. Whether certain aspects of the game are going to put you off later down the line because they may not change it. You know, we've we've got to do better at trying to just skim over difficult conversations when it comes to criticism of the game. And yes, it is very positive. But I looked at all the Steam reviews and just reading some of them, and it's like, yeah, fantastic game, and no one's kind of pointed out the fact that the animations are a little bit janky or the performance hasn't been that fantastic, even though there are people having these issues. And you don't need to put a negative review about that, not at all. I wouldn't. But people being able to access that information is all about transparency and allowing people to make a decision with everything in view. Seen an awful lot of YouTubers kind of recommend this game but not talk about some of the issues that's occurring, which is a little bit frustrating, bearing in mind that we need to be transparent about these things because it's your money and my money, and no one wants to waste a game, money on a game for the sake of it. But the big old question is it worth the money? It's 25 British pounds, which isn't that bad for an early access game. I feel like that's kind of the mark where it is right now. I think it's too early to kind of recommend this game. I think it's the best recommendation I can give is definitely keep an eye on it and look at some gameplay. I don't know if they have a demo. I'm pretty sure they do have a demo. Let's play the demo. Is it worth the money in my opinion? Yes. But honestly, you don't need to get this right away. It's something that you can definitely sit on for a while. It's nowhere near completion. I think Q it's Q2 of 2025, so still a while yet in development, and that could change. That could be forward or backwards. So yes, it is worth the money, but if you would rather just keep it hidden away for a little bit and then pop it back out when it's actually full release, then do that. I do think that it is worth £25. If it starts to go up in price, I would need to do another full review of the game to see if that's justified. But as it stands at 0.7, yeah, it is definitely worth the £24. You're gonna get a lot of content out of it. They're really pushing updates and they're being very transparent about what they're updating and what they're fixing, things like that. So yes, 100%. I can literally smell bacon. No idea where that's come from. But anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video and this review. I hope it helps you kind of come to conclusion for yourself. And don't forget to tickle that little like button, ooh la la, and punch the subscribe button if you wouldn't mind. But don't punch it that hard; you might break a screen or something. And I'm not liable for that, by the way. Or maybe I am. Nah, I can't be liable. See you on the next show. Shadow out.